On our arrival in Orford town, we parked in the town square car park, and had a lovely hot drink in the Pump Street Bakery Cafe. Orford town is in the English county of Suffolk. It is located within the Suffolk coast and heathland area of outstanding natural beauty. It's only 12 miles, or 19 kilometers from Ipswich. This delightful and attractive little town offers river cruises, a traditional bakery, cafe, 3 public houses, plus the Butley and Orford oysterage. The Church of St. Bartholomew, situated in the town centre, was built around the year 1166. After our refreshments, we decided to head to the castle keep, which is only a short walk from the town square. During the medieval time, Orford was an important port and fishing town. King Henry II had the castle built around 1165. Originally the keep was surrounded by a bailey, which is an area enclosed by a fortified stone curtain wall. This was surrounded by a ditch. Over the ditch was a bridge that led to the gatehouse. There was a tower on both sides of the gatehouse, with a further 4 towers around the curtain wall. Normally, it is found that inside the bailey there would be some permanent structures for accommodation, but in Orford, no traces of these have been found, and therefore, it is likely that all inhabitants were housed in the keep. The bailey was roughly egg-shaped, probably due to it having been built on a sloping hill. This would have been an influence for the engineers that King Henry II had employed to construct the castle. The castle keep is of a circular design of about 15 meters in diameter, with 3 towers placed at the points of an equilateral triangle, which is placed within the circle. This is described as a polygonal design, and it stands 90 feet, or 27 meters tall, and within, it has 5 stories. To enter the castle keep, which is looked after by English Heritage, you make your way up these steps into the entrance lobby. Entrance tickets are available here, although it's cheaper to purchase online in advance. The cost for one adult is £10.50 at this current time, and there is an extra fee to use the on-site car park. If you are a member of English Heritage, then entrance is included within your membership. There are also gifts and souvenirs, as well as guidebooks, or free audio guides available to listen to, whilst you walk around the different areas of the castle keep. The entrance lobby brings you into the first floor, or the lower hall. The lower hall is an impressive circular space that was probably designed for large gatherings, as it has a stone bench that runs around the edge of the hall, and there are traces that it was brightly decorated. It also has a fireplace. Here, you will see a model of the castle, as it once was, with some information leading up to the time English Heritage took over the castle. Around the edge of the various levels, tucked into the keep walls, there's rooms and passages. One level down in the basement, you'll find the castle well. It's nearly 14 meters deep, and lined with finely cut stone. This level has no fireplace or latrine, so it probably wasn't intended to be occupied, and was probably mainly for storage. This northeastern recess was a smoke vent, and having a fire would help to keep provisions dry. Moving up to the upper first floor. This passageway leads us to the chaplain's chamber. This is situated in the western turret. Like the other mural chambers, it has no fireplace, but would have been warmed a little by the chimney flue. And the next room is the chaplain's latrine. The notice on the seat asks you kindly not to sit on it. Still on the upper first floor, heading back towards the chapel. The chapel, which is found off the upper first floor, occupies the space above the entrance lobby. This is the altar, with two small wall cupboards and the piscina, which is an area for washing religious items. This room's irregular shape would not normally be used as a chapel or room dedicated to God, as it wasn't godly to use an irregular shaped area. Now heading up to the second floor, the upper hall. This majestic and lofty room was always the most important room of the castle. With its 3 window recesses, it was intended that, if the king visited, this would be his sleeping area, and a bed could be set up. Also, it has a kitchen and latrine, so as the first floor, this area was intended to be occupied. It is easy to imagine how grand this room would be, when decorated with colorful paintings and tapestries. Since 2005, Orford Museum have used the upper hall to display items that give an insight into the long and rich history of Orford and its castle. The Orford Wild Man of the Sea is a legend, where during the time of King Henry, the fishermen of Orford, caught in their nets, a wild man. The wild man was naked and man-like, and he was covered with hair and a long shaggy beard. They brought him to the constable. The knight kept him in custody for many days and nights, lest he should return to the sea. He would not talk, although he was often hung up by his feet and harshly tortured. He was also brought into the church but showed no signs of reverence or belief. He sought his bed at sunset and stayed there until sunrise. Eventually, the poor merman escaped back to the sea. Was he a man, or a fish, pretending to be a man? Who knows? The original roof of the castle was lost during the 17th century, and wasn't replaced until 1831, when the owner of the castle at that time, the 3rd Marquis of Hertford, had the building re-roofed. Like the first floor, the second has a kitchen, which is located in the western turret. The fireplace is lined with wasters, which are tiles that were spoiled during the firing process. Looking down into the upper hall from the mezzanine level. Now heading up the staircase in the southeastern turret, to the roof. The keep roof was rebuilt as a reinforced concrete platform early in the Second World War, initially to serve as an anti-aircraft gun emplacement, but later adapted as a radar platform. The western and northeastern turrets have chambers at the roof level. The latter has a large brick bread oven, with 2 arched openings. Fine views can be seen from the roof of Orford town, and towards Orford Ness, and the sea, as well as the beautiful Suffolk countryside. We are going to walk towards the Ness and the Quay after we've finished at the castle. A variety of people have owned the castle over the centuries since it was built. It was originally established to help contain the noble but troublesome Bigod family, who were usually left in charge of only a small garrison. The Bigod family also owned both Framlingham and Bungay castles. Orford remained in the Crown's possession until 1330, when Edward III granted it to the Ufford family, who were the Earls of Suffolk. In the 15th century it passed to the Willoughby family. Sir Michael Stanhope, a courtier of Elizabeth I, brought the castle in about 1590, and demolished most of the curtain walls and towers that originally surrounded the keep. By the end of the 17th century, the keep was a roofless shell, and the town port had silted up, putting the town in decline. The Orford estates were brought in 1753 by the future first Marquess of Hertford, and by the time his descendant the third Marquess re-roofed the castle in 1831, it was valued as an antiquity. The castle passed through further private hands before being presented to Orford Town Trust in 1928. It is now in the care of English Heritage. Now, having finished our visit to Orford Castle, we're heading off for a pleasant walk. Our walk starts at the castle, and heads in a southwesterly direction along a short footpath through a little wood. This is a circular walk of about 3.5 miles in length. And the walk will finish back in Orford, at the Jolly Sailors pub, for a warm drink and meal, prior to heading home. Once through the wooded area, it's a right turn, and a left, onto a footpath that heads straight across 3 fields. The footpath is clear, and even today, they're not too muddy. Orford Castle and Church are always visible throughout the walk. As you approach a group of buildings at the end of the third field, you arrive at some steps down to a lane that runs left and right. Turn left and head the short distance until you reach the end, where you'll find a T junction with a quiet country road. Turn right and head along this country road until you reach a clear footpath track on your left-hand side. You'll reach this path after only 5 or 10 minutes along the road. Walking along this footpath will take you along to the banks of the River Orr, with Chantry and Gedgrave marshes on your left and right, respectively. During the First World War, the Royal Flying Corps used the marshes for experimental work on aerial machine gun, bombs, and navigation. From here, it's a simple path curving round to the left, or north, following the river, near the Spit, and the sea, back towards Orford Quay. Ahead of you, just over the grassy bank, lies a 10-mile-long spit of shingle, known as Orford Ness. We will turn left shortly, heading northerly, with Orford Ness on our right. And in 1929, Orford Ness was one of the earliest experiments in long-range radio navigation. Then in the 1930s, there was purpose-built radar experiments. The Ness was used for these experiments throughout the Second World War, and it was guarded by the military from nearby Orford Castle. Between 1956 and 1972, throughout the period of the Cold War, Orford Ness was a top-secret military research facility, which was used for environmental testing of nuclear and atomic weapons. The pagodas that are visible along the spit in the distance were concrete vibration test buildings used during these experiments. Thankfully, Orford Ness is now a nature reserve, owned by the National Trust, with its rare and extremely fragile coastal vegetation and wildlife. Boat trips and organized visits are available. Please check online at thenationaltrust.com. This grey heron, patiently waiting to catch an evening meal. Now having turned, and heading northward, alongside the River Orr, towards Orford Quay in the distance. And just over the river, is Orford Ness. The late afternoon winter sun casts a beautiful end to our glorious day in this coastal town in the Suffolk countryside. And I know we've all had a lovely day, with many beautiful memories. We've arrived at the end of our walk, and the end of our day's visit to Orford Town. Many thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon.